Okay, here's my dessert I'm going to do. I'm going to look at my background. You see that behind the upper portion is really dark and the bottom gets a little bit lighter. So I'm not going to paint all the lettering on the bottom. I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So I painted a gray canvas, but I also know that my subject is going to be right in here. So I'm going to lay just a little bit of lighter tone right here so that it's darker on the outside, and where my subject is, it's going to be just a little bit lighter. Okay, so it's gray already, so I'm just going to add just a hint of white. Again, it's got to be wet on wet for it to work. And I'm going to add just a hint of white where my subject is. Now, you can have any color or background that you want, but you got to keep this in mind. You can't paint a darker background if you have a lighter subject matter. Otherwise, you're going to have a dark color underneath it. So keep your colors really, really light for your first undertone layer. So if it is, let's say it's green, keep it a really light pale green until you get ready at the end, and you can make it larger or darker color that you want. Okay, not to insult your intelligence, but you are going to start out by creating a nice thick layer of graphite on the back side of your picture. You got tape, tape it down. That will keep it from shifting on you when you are working to trace it. Okay, next, now that you got your graphite down, make sure it's nice and smooth, and it works better with an ink pen. Trace around it. Make sure that you trace around your shadows and draw in your highlights as a shape so that you know not to paint over them, okay? Okay, I got all my darks marked in. Next thing, I'm going to do my medium tones so that I know not to go over those. So I will make my paint just a little bit waterier, a little bit more watery, or add just a little bit of white to it so I can see that it's just a little bit different color. Okay, what I've done is I made 3 colors of my light blue. I made one just a hint darker. I just added plain water to it. Then I added just a little bit more white, and then I had white, and I added just a tiny bit of blue to it. So I have 3 tonal values: light, medium, and dark. Now I'm going to go through my whole painting, and I'm just going to kind of look to see where the lightest colors are, where the medium tones are, and where the dark is. That's what I'm going to paint. That way, when I get ready to paint the original colors, I have in my head the correct tonal values. If you get the value right, everything else will be right. I have a lot of texture. Let me show you. I have a lot of texture through here. And this little ice cream bar's got a lot of texture. So I mixed the darks, the mediums, and the light texture through here. I'll show you what that looks like. So what you come up with, it almost looks like a monochromatic. That's your first undertone layers that you're going to, before you start painting your original colors. All right? This paint is kind of clunky. It's been stored all last summer. So make sure that when you put it in here, you stir it up really good and make sure you don't have no chunks in it. I went through and put 3 layers of color. I'm doing my last lightest tonal value. So I did dark, and then I did my mid-tones, and now I'm just using plain white to keep my lights light. All right, that makes sense. And you can see it throughout my ice cream. This is what's going to make it look 3-dimensional, by having your 3 different tonal values. This side's a little bit lighter. Look to make sure that you understand where the light's coming from and which side is darker. So here is my 3 tonal values. What we've done is created a monochromatic undertone. So now we've blocked in all the darks, all the mediums, and all the really lights. One color. You can do it with light blue, or you can do it with another color. But if you got something that's like white or yellow, you might do tan just to make it not blue underneath it, all right? Okay, now that I got my monochromatic undertones and got things separated about really light, really dark, and medium tones, now I'm going to look at my original colors. I see that the bottom is a kind of a pale pink. I'm going to have to use mostly white with a tiny bit of red in it. Up here in the ice cream, I see tonal values of gray, maybe a little bit of off-white. Maybe could pick up a little bit of the pink there that's in my cup. I'm going to do the undertones first, or what I see. So my ice cream originally on the bottom is kind of a light colored white, and then I will just add the reds and pinks and yellows on top after I put another layer on. As far as the texture that you see underneath the cup, I will start out with one color, and like the blue, and I will lay them colors, then the purple, then I'll do the pink, and then I will go back in. If you look up really close, you can see it is dark around the edges, so I'll use a really fine brush in order to create a little bit of shadow in with it so they don't look so flat. So now you got to kind of look at what's underneath, the real colors underneath first. And don't worry about the sprinkles or anything that's on top. Paint your original colors. You may need to put 2 to 3 coats on it so you can get it a nice color. I also see a shadow down here at the very bottom of mine. See the lines? I see that as gray. So after I lay a couple of the pink, I will go back in and put those lines back in. I left the white here on the side, so make sure that you don't hide your tonal values, that is your highlights, all right? I'll get back with you in a minute. Okay, one side of my glass is a little bit darker than the other side. So I went back and after the first layer of pink and added just a little bit of blue back in it to make it a little grayer. And then I went back and put a lighter one on this one. Now I'm on my second layer. So where these two meet, the dark and the light meet, you're going to have to take the light color back with the dark color, and again make sure it's wet on wet and kind of meet them together where they look like it naturally switches. It shouldn't just stop and start. It should look like it's believable. So make sure where your shadow's on one side and your light is on the other side, that's going to make it look a little three-dimensional. If you see the little edges showing right through here, where you can see little holes, that means you need to add more water to your brush, just a little bit. Let me remind you, when you're doing a flat edge, let your brush do the work. Don't skip up and down. Lay your brush flat down and drag it until it empties off all the paint. That keeps your edges nice and crisp. This is especially true if you have a highlight on one side. My stick has a highlight on it. See it? Make sure your lines are nice and crisp on your edges. Okay, use your flat to fill in large spaces. Keep everything nice and smooth. You may need to go over it twice, let it dry. Make sure there's no white showing. Use your round to get up around your edges, around your subject. This is good if you got berries, got little places you need to get into. Use the round. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do after laying my background, I went back and put 2 more coats on my background so that nothing's showing. Now I'm going to put my sprinkles on. I'm done. Here's what it looks like. So take your time. Make sure that you use the correct brush. If you need a straight edge, use your flat. If you need to get it around your edges, use your round. And save your garnishes, which is your sprinkles or your embellishment. This little ice cream bar here, I did the undertone first, let it totally dry, and then added my texture to the outside of it. And I did lay my paint a little thicker. If you got any questions, you can email me.